Hey everyone, my name is Lexi Wiggins and I am doing this video over standardized testing. My target audience would be members who are looking to just learn more about standardized testing. It is no secret that not all students will excel at the same subjects or achieve the same things. So why have standardized tests? This speech will explore the effects of outcomes of standardized testing on not only the students themselves, but also their parents, teachers, administrators, and members of the community. Standardized tests are designed to measure the amount of learning that takes place in any school. However, these are most common throughout public schools. Even though they are designed to have positive effects as of measuring the amount of learning that students are actually doing, the question still remains as to whether or not they are truly benefiting the students. Standardized testing has been a part of the American culture since the 1800s. However, it did not really become popular until about 1926 when the SAT was created. Nowadays, to get into just about any college, you must provide your SAT scores. The SAT and ACT are said to be designed to state how much a student knows or how much information they know and how smart they are. However, some people disagree. Some people agree that no test can determine how smart a person truly is. These people argue that by setting up and implementing these standardized tests, they're setting students up to fail. It is a fact that exactly 10% of the students who take these tests will score in the top 10%, and half will always fall below the median. That's not because these schools or students are failing, this is because of what the word median means. Not only do they argue that these are setting students up to fail, they also argue that there are way too many factors that can impact these standardized tests. Factors such as how the student's feeling, or even something as simple as how the student views the test. You've never probably heard a student say, "Oh, I'm so excited to take my ACT today." This is because the majority of students dread taking these tests. Students are dreading these tests mainly because they have to sit in the same room, stare at the same four walls for 4 or more hours. Also, they have to answer what seems like 500 questions and have a limited amount of time to do so. Not to mention the amount of pressure that is being put on these students to do well on these tests. In order to encourage students to do well, test makers will implement certain incentives, such as you get to go on to the next grade, or if you make a certain score on your SAT or ACT, you will most likely get into a good school, or at least have that opportunity. These incentives are put into place because the schools that are doing the teaching, these tests are a direct result as to what they're teaching. So if your students don't perform well, then this says something bad about the school. This brings me to my next point. Just how accurate are these tests in assessing at how well a school is doing at teaching their students? One argument as to why these tests are inaccurate is because there's so many factors that affect, like I mentioned earlier. Some other factors that can be an affecting factor are if a student is sick on a particular day, or even the emotional state that the child is in. Despite all these things, standardized tests are still viewed by government as holding such a great power. This is because they are reliable and objective measures as to how well a student measures to student achievement. If it were not for these tests, government officials and other agencies would have to rely solely on school-specific tests. So this would create even more problems for the government. A main concern from the parents is if their students are truly a priority or if they are just puppets. This brings me to my next point, teaching the test. When teachers are directed to teach the test, they are not truly worried about their students' achievement or their students' learning. By teaching the test, teachers and administrators at schools are not allowing students to reach their full potential. However, teaching the test is beneficial to the administrators and the teachers, because if they teach the test, then the students are more likely to perform well on the test. The last thing I would like to say is that, however, even though assessment is key in the educational world, how accurate are these assessments?